Hello and welcome back to Bookish and welcome to my Saturday Hodgepodge, my weekly wrap-up of all things booktube, bookish, books I've read, anything else I want to talk about. Probably kind of a quick one today. My reading year has gotten off to a somewhat slow start, so I don't have a lot of books to talk about. I do want to do my wrap-up to start off today's video, and again, that should be quick because I think, with the exception of one book, I pretty much talked about all these books. So let me go through these books real quickly. To begin with, last month I kind of got in on the whole movement that seems to be here on BookTube about reading books that you already own, reading the books that are on your shelf, and I decided I would read books that were in my cart. And I made a whole video in which I just pulled books out of my cart, many of which I forgot were even in there, and decided I would read some of those. So I read 4 books from my cart. Not bad, considering, generally speaking, I read about 5, 6 books a month. So I read 4 books from my cart. Those books were Writers and Lovers by Lilly King, which, I enjoyed. I thought it was a good story I had questions about. I made a whole video kind of about, what that book made me think about reading and diverse reading and what we should expect from it. But I liked it. I enjoyed it. I read The Night Watch by Sarah Waters, my first Sarah Waters, and I liked it. I thought it was good. There was one storyline that I thought really kind of detracted from the story overall. Let's see. I also read A Visit from the Goon Squad by Jennifer Egan, which was obviously really made an impression on me. It was one of my books, top 10 novels of the year this year. And that was excellent. And then right at the end of the year, I finished The Door by Magda Szabo. And it didn't make my top 10. I'm not sure it'd been in my top 15 books of the year, but it was a really, really good book. And if you are, interested in a book which kind of primarily focuses on an older woman character and a relationship between 2 women, in which 2 women, by the way, have multiple conversations that have nothing to do with men, and this kind of relationship, which is a difficult relationship, and it's really hard to know who in that relationship is the one who is taking the most or giving the most, or if that is, in fact, a loving relationship. It's a really good book, a really good kind of, I think, character study and a meditation on the nature of friendship and what people take and what people give. I thought it was really good. So I would definitely recommend that book as well. So those are the 4 books that I read from my cart. I still have lots of books in my cart, some of which I started reading. I started reading Something Wicked This Way Comes by Ray Bradbury. I looked at reading The Lacuna by Barbara Kingsolver. I picked up the Elmore Leonard that I have in the cart, but none of those books kind of stuck, and those 4 books are the books I read. In addition to that, I buddy read Train Dreams by Dennis Johnson. I buddy read that with Roz from Scally Down About the Books. Really short book, really beautifully written. I don't think I liked it quite as much as Roz did, but I still thought it was really very good. I also read, let's see what I have here on my list. I also listened to on YouTube Matthew Perry's memoir, which is, I think, was titled Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, which it really is primarily about his addiction. I thought the stuff he had to say about addiction was interesting enough to get me past what I felt was like some relatively self-aggrandizing kind of Hollywood insider stuff that I was a lot less interested in. But I thought his experience with addiction and what he had to say about it by the end of the book were really interesting. I also listened to 2 Honore Balzac novels, novellas. One was Saracen, which I thought was really good. It's only about, I think the audiobook on LibriVox version was only about, I want to say, an hour and a half long maybe, which worked out to be really perfect. It coincided with a doctor's appointment for my wife, and I liked that quite a bit. I liked more Gobseck, which is a longer kind of short work of Balzac's, which I listened to, and I kind of, with that one, because it was longer, because I think it's more foundational to some elements of other works of Balzac, I kind of wished I had read that one. Let's see, what else do I have on my list here? Oh, I also read as an ebook The Kiss Quotient by, what was her name? The author's last name is Huong. I'll put a picture up of it over here. I just forgot the first name, which was a romance, and I enjoyed it. Like with all romances, I find myself having questions that just had to do with either my inexperience or lack of knowledge about the genre, or just problems I have with the genre and its kind of format and tropes in general. But I definitely liked it. And then I also read In the Woods by mystery writer Tana, which I liked a lot. This is the first book, I believe, in the Dublin Murder Squad series, and I have another book from that series that's in the card, or was in the card. I don't see it now, but which is the second book in that series. And I decided to read the first, and I read that as an ebook, which I got from the Libby app from my library. And I really, really liked it. I thought, and this is the book I'll talk about the most, the book kind of involves a young detective who's always wanted to be on the murder squad, but in his youth, he was a victim of a crime in which two of his friends disappeared, and he was found catatonic in the woods near his home, which was in a planned suburban neighborhood, which never really took off, and he had no memory of it. He was sent away to boarding school by his parents. He essentially changed his first name, and he comes back to Ireland, and he goes to work for the police, and he eventually wants to be on the murder squad, and he makes it. And then a case comes up involving a crime that took place in those exact woods, where he had been a witness, a victim to crime. And that stirs up all kinds of things. He's a really interesting character, I think, and his partner in the case is a young woman who's put on a murder squad as well, and the two of them work together perfectly. They create a really wonderful, beautiful friendship and working partnership, and that is all great. This kind of platonic friendship between them is great. The story is great. The way the story is solved is, I don't think, indecipherable. You know, I kind of figured it out. I'm not always that great at it, figuring out mysteries, but I kind of figured it out. But the story itself and the writing and the characters really were, I thought, excellent. I was disappointed in part of the way in which everything resolved itself. I thought French kind of took the easy way out there, but I am going to read the second book and looking forward to that and to reading all of these Dublin Murder Squad books, because I think I found a new kind of modernish mystery writer to read. So there you go. There's the wrap up for December, which now seems really late, but there's the wrap up from December. My wife and I woke up, you know, on I think January the 1st, as many people do, New Year's resolution, determined to get back to going on a daily walk. And the morning we took a walk, just had me really foggy. So I shot some vlog style footage of our foggy walk. And so I'll leave that footage here for you if you're interested in watching. And then the only other thing I want to talk about is what I've been reading since January started. I've been reading a lot of books that are on my Kindle. Kind of one of the things I wanted to do this year was to get through some of the books I've had on my Kindle for a while and read those. So that's part of it. I've been kind of bouncing back and forth between a few titles, none of them actually sticking. One book that I was reading on my Kindle that I did finish, I started in December and finished in January, was The Black Star Murders by BookTube's own Matt Wall. It's the first in a series of mysteries, which may or may not have supernatural or sci-fi kind of elements to it. And it was just an incredibly fun, propulsive read with lots of kind of broad action and kind of broad characters interacting with one another, and lots of people get killed and lots of people we find out stuff about. It's really was really enjoyable, and if you're interested in that kind of thing, you know, I highly recommend Matt's book. I'll be reading more in the Black Star Murders series, because it is a series of books moving forward. Not a lot's resolved, or that we don't get to a full resolution in the first book, but I assume that as we go on, we'll learn more and more about what's happening. Anyway, I enjoyed that reading experience. A reading experience I enjoyed less was I just finished Stella Maris by Cormac McCarthy, the second of his pair of new books, which goes with The Passenger, and I know you're probably tired of it by now, but I plan a full review of Stella Maris to go along with the full review I did of The Passenger, in which I discuss what I think are my real issues with that book as a novel, which are kind of along the same lines of what I talk about The Passenger. So hopefully it'll be a little bit shorter, but I do want to do that, and that review will be in the upcoming week. So anyway, there you go. There's my Saturday Hodgepodge for this week. Told you it'd be short. Look forward to your comments in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching.